welcome to StoneMagpie for the framing of the Crystal of Enchantment picture by Josephine Wall, purchased on Diamond Painting Deutschland. It's arrived, fingers crossed that it's as lovely as what we expect it to be. So let's get this frame unboxed. Inside the box I can see that there is lots of cardboard wrapping covering the frame here. So I'll take off the diamond painting off the top and put her safely aside and very carefully slide this out of this huge box onto the table. And at last we'll reveal the back of the frame. I'm just gently pushing it back onto this protective cardboard, which I may well leave in place. On the back we can see the hang fittings, so we'll gently remove those and put those aside for later. And I am going to check the frame itself. Very gently turning the frame over. It's so pretty. So here is the frame. What do you think? I love it. I love the coloration, being that goldy silver colour, and this detail around the edge is just gorgeous. Well done everybody who voted for this frame. I'm so pleased. The last bit of checking I want to do is on these corner pieces to make sure there's no damage before we start the framing itself. Let's flip it back and have a closer look. I want to check each corner very carefully. So I'm just checking the corner to make sure that there are no splits. Everything looks good. Time to frame. So now it's time to flip the frame again. Normally I would put an old towel down, but because we've got this really protective cardboard layer, I'm going to leave that down this time. So I'm going to flip the frame over, again very carefully. And we'll take off the backing board, lifting these tabs. And because I'm not framing with a mount, I want to make sure that I know which way is up on the backing board, because we are going to actually adhere the picture to this. So I'm going to turn it over. This is the top left. So I'm just going to do an arrow here with my pen very lightly. And put this aside. And we're left with the acrylic sheet with the protective layer on it. So I'm going to remove this and put it aside. At this point, we need to see how much of the picture to cut away. So I'm going to put the frame to one side a moment and lay the picture on the table. Because I want to check the size of the frame. Okay, obviously the frame isn't laying flat because of the tabs underneath that we have taken the backing away from, but it gives us a good idea of how much we'll need removing. Next, I want to check how the backing sits into the back of the frame. So I bring back the frame and the backing board. And the reason I do this is to see how it fits, because if there's a lot of movement, it will make a difference to the picture and how it sits within the frame. So I'm just checking how much it moves. There's a gap of about ½ centimetre. Okay, so we'll need to take that into account when we cut the picture down. So we bring the backing board back. This is my arrow in this corner to show me this is the top left of the inside. So we're going to be sticking the canvas to this side of the backing board. So we bring the picture back and we just check the sizing against the back. I think to start with, I am going to remove a lot of the white edging. Now I do like to keep the details of the diamond painting on the canvas if I can. I will cut down here, but we might have to remove that and stick it onto the back. Now we know from the frame directions when we ordered the frame that we do have a 5mm recess around the frame. So what I do next is get the backing and put it over the diamond painting. Now, because we've got the 5mm movement on the backing, it's going to fall to the bottom of the frame. So the bottom needs to have an extra 5mm overlapped to create enough gap so that we don't have a gap at the top when we come to framing. So I gently just nudge it into the place, looking at the diamonds underneath, go round to check. Okay, and then I'm going to get my pen and indicate where those corners will probably be. And that's just a guide for cutting off more of the excess canvas. I am leaving the tape on. And take that away and just have another check. Time to be brave to cut these edges off. I am going to leave the washi tape in place, and I might just go a little bit over my guidelines just so that if I need to play with it a little bit, I can still do so. So you can see my guideline here. And I'm just going to go a little bit outside of that as I cut the edge. It already looks better with that white edge gone. I will have to cut off the details of the painting, but what I'll do, I save that and put it on the back instead. It does seem a long time ago since we were talking about the staining of the washi tape. Right, let's get that backing board back. Again, checking the arrow to indicate the top left. And now she fits. There's a little bit of overhang. Okay, so before I stick this to make it permanent on the backing, I want to make sure that this sits nicely in the frame, just so that I've got a bit more movement, just in case it drops further than what I think, etc. So I'm going to get the acrylic sheet back. And we'll remove the first of the protective layers. I try not to touch the acrylic sheet, so I'm going to pull from all of the corners into the middle. Only putting my hand on the bit with the protective layer still on. Top tip. The acrylic is exactly the same size as the backing board. So next I'm going to measure the picture with the acrylic instead of the backing board because it will be easier to see through. Bring the picture back. And now we'll be able to see where the picture sits within the frame. So I now have the acrylic sheet over the picture and I need to trim the excess off the side. So I'm going to mark exactly where the edges are on this sheet, and that enables the picture to sit within the recess of the frame. This is the most nerve-wracking bit. Put this aside. And carefully cut around the picture again for hopefully the final sizing. But like I say, it is nerve-wracking, so it might even still be a bit big because I definitely don't want to take too much off. Let's get the frame back. Bottom of the frame with the label. The acrylic sheet, still with one protective layer on. The diamond painting, which hopefully will fit nice and snugly now. Still slightly big one side. So we will need to do a bit more trimming, but we'll have to see where that trimming should be. This is the bottom, so I want the painting to sit snug at the bottom so it doesn't fall down and create a gap at the top. So it looks to me like the trimming is going to be in that corner. Put the backing board on so that we can see what this would look like if it was glued already. This is just a test. Right. Okay, so it's to check the placement of the canvas at this point. So obviously the acrylic will be more see-through once the other protective layer is off. So I can't see any pink at the bottom or the side. I can't see any pink here or at the top. So that looks like a very good placement. So there's the top right. I can't see any of the pink washi tape down this side. Bottom. And up the left hand side to the top corner. So it looks like the whole diamond painting has fit into the frame really well. So I'm just going to have to trim off the excess on the backing so it sits nice and flat. Okay, so I've opened up the tabs again, lift out the backing board, and let's get this canvas nice and flat. You may be able to see that there are lumps because it doesn't quite fit nicely into the frame. So I think if I just trimmed this edge and this corner a little bit, it will be a lot better. I know you're probably thinking I've done a lot of measuring and a lot of taking in and out of the frame, but it really is worth it. Now I just want to get a bit more of this side cut. Let's have a look. So this corner is now sitting really well. I think there still needs to be a bit taken off just in that area there. And it's catching a little bit on this bottom bit. That is nice and straight. Okay, so I don't want to move this picture too much because we know it is in its right place. So next, I'm going to get the backing board, making sure that I'm using the correct way up. Right, my arrow is here, which is that corner. So that is good. Okay. What I'm going to do next is tape this board with my double-sided tape ready for it to stick onto the canvas. You may recognise this big thick piece of tape from when I did the Let's Fix Sag video. So I'm just removing the little pieces. We may well use those later. But what I want to do is to get some nice strips onto the backing board. And because the weight is at the top of the picture, I am going to put some more tape at the top here. So I'm going to put some in the corners. And in the middle, and we might as well use these bits of scraps and pop them here. Okay, so that is the tape in place. All we need to do now is remove the tape backing and turn it onto the canvas. The canvas will be held in place by the frame, so it's not going to have too much movement. I'm going to see if the edges will work with my tab trick. I've not tried this when I'm framing a big picture without a mount, so we'll have a go. It won't work on these little bits because there won't be enough tab, so we'll take these straight off. Of course, what's going to be important when we turn over the backing board is that it is in the right place before it sticks completely down. Right, we're at the stage where we're going to turn the backing and stick it, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking. Oh, so a deep breath. Yeah, I'll leave the tabs on. Or should I? Sorry, I'm having second thoughts. I'm going to take them off. Because once I lay this down, I really don't want to lift it again. Okay, take 2. Just making sure it's nice and square. And it's down. So I'll press. Whew, okay, we need to take off the other part of the acrylic sheet. So now the canvas is stuck to the backing board and we have the acrylic sheet underneath that with its protective layer on. So we need to remove that protective layer. Take it all out together. And remove the frame. Pop it all down. And remove. Again, not touching the acrylic sheet as much as possible. And by taking it back out of the frame, we'll be able to check how well the canvas has stuck to the backing board. Sorry for any reflection as I take this off because it's now going to be a lot shinier. Again, I'm holding my hand down on the protective layer and peeling back to the middle. Oh, she's so beautiful. Now we need to get the frame back. Push her aside. Now I'm just going to check very, very carefully. Yep, that is stuck. And we'll get it sat back in its frame. So for the last time, because once this is in, it's not coming out again. That's it. Checking that it's sitting nice and flat. Okay, the picture hasn't moved, so we're good to go. Fastening down the tabs. Yes, are we ready to see what she looks like now? Hopefully we won't get too much reflection from the ceiling. Fingers crossed, here we go. Ta-da! Isn't she beautiful? I love this frame. I know that we're getting reflection, so let's get a different camera angle. And she is framed. What do you think, everybody? It's been a journey, hasn't it? And now she is finally complete. It was such a beautiful choice of frame. and I think that edging really does set off the picture, so it doesn't miss a mount at all. It's fantastic. So here's the frame stood up. Again, bit of reflection, so apologies for that, but I wanted you to see it standing there. After months of work, she is fantastic. Josephine Wall, you are amazing. Thank you to Diamond Painting Deutschland for producing such a beautiful picture, and thank you Easy Frame for the frame. And finally, last but not least, thank you all for your support during the time of completing this diamond painting, for all your comments and likes and subscribes. I hope that you're happy with the result, and I hope to see you next time. Take care everybody. Bye.